I am Dr. Amudita Ahuja, and I'm from Delhi. I'm practicing in Delhi right now, and co-founder of Project Pink Butterfly with Dr. Abhinaya. And we have done fellowship in laparoscopy and in fertility together. So that's how we know each other, and that's how we started this page.
Okay. And Dr. Do you want to say something?
Hi Divya, I'm Dr. Abhinay Alluri. I work in Hyderabad. I'm an obstetrician, gynecologist, and laparoscopic surgeon. I work for Medicover Women and Child Hospital, Hyderabad. Yeah, and she told how we met and all, and we started this just a point to create awareness about women's health and what is important, what is not,
Yeah.
where they should be concentrating. All this, we just want to spread awareness. That's it.
Regarding the periods, actually, the first question would be about the menstrual cycle. So, what do you think, people should consider as a normal menstrual cycle in terms of flow, cycle length, or, how long it lasts and the pain?
Okay, so the normal menstrual cycle is something where the cycle length lasts from 21 days to 35 days. So anything which is between 21 days to 35 days is absolutely normal. If the cycle length is less than 21 days or more than 35 days, then it is a concern and they need to consult. The second thing is about the amount of flow.
Yeah.
So the amount of flow can range from 5 ml to 80 ml. So the amount of pads they change, I would say if they're changing more than 2 pads a day, or if they're changing more than 5 to 6 tampons a day,
Mm.
or if they have to change their menstrual cup before 12 hours. So in
Yeah.
that scenario, or if it is associated with clots, then in that particular scenario, that means they are heavily bleeding, and that means they
Mhm.
need to see a gynecologist. So
Okay.
that's about the normal menstrual cycle. And
Mhm.
if period pain, mild period pain is absolutely normal with the normal
Mhm.
period cycle. But if it is incapacitating the normal day-to-day activities and they're not able to do that, then again that's a warning
Yeah.
sign that they need to consult and get evaluated.
Mhm. So in terms of how long it lasts, like 3 days, 5 days, 7 days,
Two
like
to
how?
seven days, 2 to 7
Yeah.
days. If it is
Okay.
less than 2 days, then it's less amount of bleeding, and if it is more than 7 days, then absolutely they're bleeding more.
So do you think like the age has an impact on it, or like how does it change with respect to age, that you have like more 5 days long period in the beginning and then it kind of reduces? Is that so?
Yes, yes, definitely age has an impact, and age has an impact on the regularity of the cycle also. So
Mm-hmm.
compare when a person starts the menarche, like when they attain the menarche, that is what we call the adolescent period. The periods
Yeah.
tend to be very regular.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the immaturity of the hypothalamus pituitary axis. So it's just very well coordinated in our body. See, every month what's happening is your body is preparing for a pregnancy, right? There are hormones releasing from hypothalamus pituitary, and they act on the ovary, and they are ready
Yeah.
to lodge a pregnancy. But when this pregnancy is not happening, then we shed blood. That is what
Mm-hmm.
is a period blood. So this is a normal physiology in every woman. But during adolescence, because the pituitary axis is again activating and it's very immature, women tend to have irregular cycles at that time and heavy bleeding also. And again, during at the age before they attain menopause, before around 35, 40 to 50s, that is very
Yeah.
called perimenopausal age group. This
Mm-hmm.
period also they tend to have irregular cycles and heavy bleeding. And the
Okay.
duration also during the 30s and 40s, that period
Mm-hmm.
length tends to be a little short.
Okay.
The main thing happening, and it would be physiological. So what we are trying to say is some amount of abnormality during the adolescence and during the perimenopausal period are absolutely normal, but you need
Mm-hmm.
to consult your doctor because heavy bleeding can lead to anemia.
Yeah.
So this
Mm-hmm.
can cause fatigue, weakness, and a decrease in the quality of life. That's why you need
Mm-hmm.
to meet your doctor so they can regularize these periods at that time.
Okay. Okay. So in terms of irregular cycle, so what would you consider an irregular cycle and what are the causes for it?
So irregular cycle, anything which is less than 21 days, or if the cycle duration is more than 35 days, then in that particular scenario, it is irregular period. And the
Mm-hmm.
irregular period can happen mostly because of, either because of the PCOS or the PCOD, or
Yeah.
because, so mostly it's because of the hormonal imbalance. So it can
Mm-hmm.
be because of PCOS or PCOD or hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism,
Yeah.
or because of the increase in the prolactin levels. So that prolactin level will also cause the delay in the period cycle. So any hormonal imbalance because of any reason is going to cause irregular periods.
Okay. So I think there are a few questions which have started coming up. So I'll just ask you one question, which is if someone got periods with the medroxyprogesterone tablet last month, so should the person continue the next month also?
Absolutely no. It depends upon why the doctor gave you the tablet. Okay, it depends upon the condition, and maybe sometimes there could be delay in periods because of stress, a drastic increase in weight or decrease in weight, on environmental factors. All this can cause slight delay in periods. So it definitely depend upon the cause why the doctor has given you, and the doctor will tell you to meet once your period comes. So they will tell you what the plan would be next. So please meet the doctor once your period comes, so they can tell you what the plan is depending upon your diagnosis.
Okay. And there is actually one more question here, which let me open it. How much time it takes for menstrual cycle to be normal after delivery?
So usually, so it depends upon how much time you are lactating the child. If you are lactating exclusively for 6 months, maybe you will get your normal periods after 6 months or 7 months. And in some cases, we have seen that they get periods immediately after 6 weeks. So its minimum is 6 weeks. Also, we have seen that people have gone into normal periods, and we have seen as late as 6 months also. But if they have gotten the periods after 6 weeks, then they are a little delayed or they are a little heavy. That irregularity is there, and it takes at least 6 months for everything to get settled and come back to normal.
Okay. So, in terms of when we were talking about irregular cycles, so what could be like possibly the causes for that? Could you, highlight on those causes besides
Yeah,
like the
so
endocrine issues which you mentioned, thyroid and PCOS? Yeah.
The regular causes of irregular cycles can be depending upon the age also. We can tell the adolescent age group, in the reproductive age group, and around the perimenopausal age group. In the adolescent age group, it is mainly the immaturity of the hypothalamus pituitary ovarian axis that I already spoke about. And it could be also because of bleeding disorders. Some patients have platelet factor abnormality. In that conditions, people tend to have excessive bleeding during their cycles. That's what we think of. And other causes like thyroid. Thyroid is also one of the major cause. And some people are into drastic weight loss. Like they starve themselves to lose weight and all. In that conditions also periods tend to become irregular and they stop also. All these we should consider in an adolescent age group, but the main factor here would be immaturity of the hypothalamus pituitary ovarian axis. Now coming to the reproductive age group, this irregularity can be seen. Lot of people start on OC pills because they are not planning pregnancy in the recent times. So what they do, they tend to miss the period tablet sometimes. So this improper use of oral contraceptive pills and pathological structural anomalies like any fibroids in the uterus, any ovarian cysts, any condition called endometriosis or adenomyosis, or if some people have gotten intrauterine device like copper T. So these all can cause period abnormalities, and some infections like PIDs, what we call pelvic inflammatory disease. This also can cause period anomalies. So mostly what we see in the reproductive age group and something related to abortion, like they got a pregnancy terminated, or it could be a second trimester abortion. After that also, and lot of these days we are seeing people using emergency contraceptive pills, like in and out, without even doctor's prescription. They just have an unprotected intercourse and just pop up the pill which is available. So this is the major cause. As we see a lot of online consultations, people using these pills, and the period tends to become irregular. So in the reproductive age group and adolescents also, these are the major causes using this emergency contraceptive pills. And around coming to the perimenopausal age group, we should around think about cancers. Any cancer of the cervix or cancer of the endometrium. So there could be slight bleeding. Sometimes there can be heavy bleeding. Sometimes they have bleeding between the periods. And some conditions called polyps, they are benign growths. These can also cause sometimes irregular bleeding patterns. They mostly have intermenstrual bleeding. Okay. And this hormonal abnormality again, because the hormone levels are dropping as you're aging by, and you're turning to your menopause stage. So these times, because of the decrease in hormones, then again you tend to have irregular cycles. So this is brief conditions which can cause irregular periods in different age groups.
So
and I think to this, I would like to add one more thing is that recently we have seen so many COVID patients also. So because of the COVID also, People are
Yeah.
saying, seeing irregular periods, and even
Mhm.
after the vaccine, people are seeing heavy bleeding. They're experiencing, so there are lots of experiences and lots of, symptoms which people are coming up with, and irregular cycles are one of
Yeah.
them for COVID and COVID vaccine.
And
Mhm.
diabetic also I would like to mention. People who are diabetic also tend to
Mhm.
have oligomenorrhea, that decreased bleeding and cycles.
Okay.
Yes. And
Yeah, I
stress.
think.
COVID is causing a lot of stress and causing
Yeah.
irregular.
Yeah, I think that was one of my questions, which was I was anyways going to ask you about the COVID thing, like, like how COVID is impacting the menstrual cycle, once somebody is actually suffering from COVID and like once they even recover from COVID, because we have seen, impact of COVID after somebody has recovered also. So does that have any impact on menstrual cycle? Should people be concerned about the vaccines and so on? Yeah.
Yeah, so the
So,
basic thing is because of COVID, there are so many things which are, playing upon. It's because
yeah.
of the COVID infection also. So there are studies which are saying that during the COVID infection, there is neutrophilic infiltration of the endometrium. And because of that, some people are experiencing heavy bleeding post-COVID infection. The second thing that is acting upon is the stress of the COVID infection itself. And
Yeah.
when the stress is happening, because of that, there are negative hormones secreted, and then again, there is delay of the periods. Then the next thing that's acting upon is the lifestyle, which is changing because of COVID. So people, whether they are suffering from COVID or they are not suffering from COVID, they are at home. They are logged in. They are not able to do
Yeah.
any exercise, eating at home,
Yeah.
whatever. Stress eating is happening, comfort eating is happening. And because of that, again, the hormones are getting
Yeah.
haywired. So there are
Mhm.
a lot of things which are acting, together. So we cannot say that per se, is it because of COVID infection or is it because of the associated factors which are causing this? But definitely, we are seeing a lot of people coming up with missed periods, coming up
Yeah.
with, delayed periods or heavy bleeding. So all of this is happening post COVID, and especially, after vaccination also, we have seen people coming up with heavy bleeding.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
that also can be because of, hormonal imbalance or because of stress, that we still need to find out what is the reason for it.
Okay. Okay.
But
So, mhm.
remember, yeah, this is all going to be for a short period.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're very short period. As in, they'll be only for 3 to 4 months, and then everything is going to come back to normal as the stress
Mhm.
will come down
Yeah.
and as the recovery phase will prolong. So all these things will act, and after 3 to 4 months, the periods become regular.
Okay. So they shouldn't be like too much concerned about it.
No,
Just
no,
wait
no,
for some. Yeah.
absolutely. It's just a transient phase, which I think every one of us is going through.
Hmm. Okay. So there's one question, which is it is if person is again getting delayed after last month with the again the same medicine, the medroxyprogesterone tablets. So what can they do?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
If person is again getting delayed after last month
Period.
with,
Okay.
yeah.
So see, when you go to a doctor with an irregular period, doctor will try to evaluate the cause of the irregular period first. We have already spoken depending upon the age group. So they will do hormonal evaluation. They'll do a scan. They will do all the thyroid tests, prolactin
Yeah.
levels, they check the sugars. Then we'll identify the cause. Accordingly, we'll treat the patient. The treatment depends upon the cause actually.
Okay. Okay. Let me just see. There's one question here, which is, can female have Klinefelter syndrome? Klinefelter syndrome. This question is not mentioned here, it's in the question box. Can a female have Klinefelter syndrome? I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's
Yeah,
Kline
yeah.
Felter syndrome. Yeah.
Yes, so definitely. Basically, Klinefelter syndrome is nothing but 45XO, where there is one gamete which is missing. So because of that, the internal gonads are the ovaries, but the externally they are males. So they can get, their sex changed, and they can take according to the hormonal therapy that can happen. So yes, definitely it can happen. It's possible.
Okay. So I guess like some people obviously they have spotting and they have clots as well, and sometimes people completely miss periods and all these things. So can you talk a little bit about those things, like about spotting and missing periods completely, or the
Yes.
kind of, yeah.
So basically, spotting can be because of either a polyp, which can be there in the endometrium. Polyp is nothing but the overgrowth of the lining of the uterus, or it could be because of the polyp in the cervix.
Okay.
So basically at the mouth of the uterus or inside the uterus. The polyp, the irregular spotting can be because of that. That's one of the reason. Second is the hormonal imbalance. That is again PCOD, thyroid, and prolactin that can also cause.
Yeah.
And the third one, the most important thing, is the infections and the cervical erosions. So if there is any cervical erosion or if there is any infection like pelvic inflammatory disease or vaginitis, so in those scenarios, the patient will have continuous bleeding even after the periods are over till the next period starts. So any kind of spotting, that means it's irregular and they need to see the doctor.
Okay. So in terms of like missing periods, like, I mean, of course, periods are irregular and sometimes you miss them. And like, how long should you wait? Like, what are the signs that you should look out for and contact the doctor accordingly?
So missed periods, see, first of all, missed periods means first of all, do a pregnancy test.
Yeah.
If you're sexually active, do a pregnancy test. That's the first thing. The second thing, if you're not sexually active and if you're sure that these missed periods are not because of pregnancy, then you need to wait till 45 days. If you get your periods, okay. If you're not getting your periods till 45 days, consult a doctor. They'll give the medicine, and then on second day of the periods, they'll do all the hormonal tests to know what is the reason for the missed periods. Missed periods can be because of any kind of hormonal imbalance which is happening in the body, and the most common one being, which I think 90% of the girls are suffering these days, is PCOS or PCOD. And then the next is thyroid. Because of that, also people miss their periods. And then because of the hyperprolactin, that is the increase in the prolactin levels, where along with the missed periods, they can also have whitey milkish discharge from the breast, or that can be associated with the headaches also. So these are the few symptoms that you need to look out. And if it is because of the thyroid disorder, then they need to look out for all other symptoms related to thyroid, like constipation, feeling of cold, lethargy, joint pains, muscle pains. So these are the few symptoms of hypothyroid. That is when the thyroid TSH is raised or the thyroid hormone is less. If the thyroid hormone is more, then they will have symptoms of diarrhea, they'll have symptoms of feeling hot and then sudden feeling of cold, and then they'll have palpitations, that is, they can feel their own heartbeat. So these are the few symptoms which are associated with hyperthyroid. In hyperthyroid, the patient will have more periods more often. That is, they'll get the periods in less than 21 days.
Okay.
So these are associated with thyroid and prolactin. And then with PCOS, along with the missed periods or irregular periods, they can have excessive hair growth along the jawline of the face. They can have excessive weight gain. Even if they're not eating anything, they're just gaining weight. And then they'll have acne over the face. Or if it is too much, if it has gone way beyond, then they can have purplish discoloration over the neck and over the waist areas or the stretch marks also. So these are the few signs and symptoms which they have to look forward if they are missing their periods.
So, sometimes when women are suffering from endometriosis, for example, sometimes these symptoms are kind of overlooked. I mean, you don't really think at, starting that you have endometriosis. So in terms of that, what kind of things you should look out for that, you have to see the doctor right away?
In endometriosis, women tend to have severe pain during their cycles. That's the most common symptom. And if the endometriosis is affecting the surrounding organs like bladder and rectum, there could be diarrhea, severe pain while urination. All these are the symptoms for endometriosis. But the most common symptom we see in young patients is severe dysmenorrhea, that is pain during periods. And in married couples, we see dyspareunia, that is pain during intercourse. So these are the most common symptoms. And if you have any of these two, like dysmenorrhea is pretty common, but it is bearable. A lot of people can bear it, or it can be treated with some sort of medications like ibuprofen or meftalspaz, something like that. But if the dysmenorrhea is out of control and it is incapacitating the female's quality of life, then definitely they need to see their doctors so that they can get evaluated. Coming to a diagnosis will help us start the treatment earlier so they can have a better quality of life.
So now actually I also know that fibroids is becoming common as well during pregnancy, very common. So in terms of that, sometimes not always the symptoms are detectable before. So in terms of that, what you should look out for?
These fibroids are benign tumors of the uterus, and the symptoms depend upon the location of where the fibroid is. See,
Yeah.
on the uterus, fibroid can be inside the uterus or between the layers of the uterus or outside the uterus. So when the fibroid is on the outside of the uterus, what we call as subserosal fibroids, they do not cause any symptoms like heavy bleeding or something. If the fibroid is, if they are very small, like 1 to 2 centimeters, also just following up in a scan is what we do.
Yeah.
We don't actually give them any medications. So that's what we do. But if the fibroid is in the middle of the uterus, what we call an intramural fibroid, and it also depends whether it's touching the endometrial lining and all, then usually this also doesn't cause bleeding problem to the patient.
Yeah.
Again, here size matters. So, but fibroid is inside the lining of the uterus, what we call
Yeah.
submucosal fibroids. How small it is, even in 1 into 1 centimeter fibroid has to be removed, because these are the fibroids that tend to cause heavy bleeding during periods.
Okay.
Heavy. So fibroid is one of the common cause of irregular periods and heavy bleeding during periods, but the treatment depends upon the location of the fibroid. So whether it's heavy bleeding, then we treat them.
So there's one more question which I'll read out to you. Please talk a bit about estrogen dominance. Estrogen dominance.
Yeah. So anything estrogen dominance is when the estrogen content in the body is more. It happens more in the people who are obese. And because of the increase in the estrogen, there can be problems like fibroids, there can be problems like endometriosis, there can be problems like adenomyosis, and in the later age group, there can be problem of endometrial cancer also. Even PCOS to some extent is considered to be a hyperestrogenic state. So these are the problems which can happen or which can lead to hyperestrogenism.
So there's one more question, which is after miscarriage, when to try for pregnancy and when the cycle turns normal?
Usually we ask the women to give a gap of 3 months to try for normal pregnancy. Usually maybe in 1 to 2 cycles the period can become normal. In this preconceptional, they can start taking folic acid, wait for 3 months and then plan for their pregnancy.
Okay. There's one more question, which is after pregnancy, it's been a year and I have still not got my periods.
Is she still lactating or feeding her baby?
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
important.
yeah. So maybe that person can tell us, Mommy Mahe can tell us if you're like breastfeeding. That could be one of the reasons.
Do exclusively breastfeed for 2 years also, 2.5 years. In that, your period may not come. So please don't worry. This is called lactational amenorrhea and it's pretty normal to not have periods during your feeding time. So you can just wait when you're weaning off, the periods tend to normal. But
so I
the contraception during this time, because sometimes there can be ovulation, erratic, and it can lead to unplanned pregnancies. So just because you're not getting your periods, it doesn't absolutely mean that it's you can't become pregnant, but make sure you're using some method of contraception if it's like more than a year.
Yeah. So I think this is like a very, very common question because sometimes, moms say that they get it, as you mentioned, like after 6 weeks or, after 1 month and so on. And sometimes they take it, get it after a longer time. But sometimes they say that they are feeding exclusively and then also they get it immediately, like after 1 month. So is there like any specific reason or like, how is it like kind of different for different people?
In your body. So the main thing to remember here is it's good you're just able to breastfeed your baby exclusively, but you got your period, so it's time for using a contraception. That's what we need to make it a point here.
Okay. So can a period cycle duration change over time in a person?
Yes, they can, definitely.
So,
they can get prolonged also as the age increases.
So is there like a certain, I mean, of course, lifestyle is one of the reasons why it could change or, but whenever it changes, as the signs you mentioned, they should see a doctor immediately too.
Yes.
Okay, let me see. Yeah, the a person said, yes, they are breastfeeding. So, I mean, that could be the reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually had a few more questions as we were talking about COVID as well. There were actually some reports regarding PCOS and COVID. So if you can, enlighten us on that part, like why women with PCOS are more susceptible to, having COVID. Yeah.
So basically, patients with PCOS, they have some kind of insulin resistance which is developing in their body. So basically, we say that PCOS is a pre-diabetic condition. And that's the reason now we know that, diabetics are more prone for COVID. And that's the reason patients with PCOS, and that too with uncontrolled hormones and uncontrolled, fasting insulin and postprandial insulin, they are the only people who are prone. And people who have maintained their hormones within the normal limits and who have been exercising and maintaining their lifestyle, they are not the ones who are the sufferers.
Okay.
And then there was one more myth that, if they have PCOS and if they are on oral contraceptive pills and if they are going for vaccination, then they should stop oral contraceptive pills. So that's a complete myth. Even if you are on oral contraceptive pills for PCOS or for birth control, if you're going for vaccination, there's no need to alter anything. Just let it continue the way it was, and don't, just because you're vaccinating, it doesn't mean you have to change your complete schedule of the medicines what you're taking.
Okay. So there's a question, after COVID vaccine, when to try for after
I
COVID
think
vaccine?
pregnancy maybe she meant.
Yeah, after first dose or second dose, after pregnancy. Yeah.
After first dose, second dose, there's no gap where we say that after this time only you can plan your pregnancy, because we are telling even our pregnant patients to take the vaccine. Even if they're in their first trimesters, or even if they're going for infertility treatment, we're telling them to please go and get vaccinated. And even if you have taken like first dose before your UPT was positive, and suppose after first dose, like after 2 weeks, your pregnancy test is positive, then go and take the second dose. Just don't stop there just because pregnancy test is positive. So there's no such schedule or no such recommendations which say that after COVID vaccine, you have to wait for some time and then plan your pregnancy.
Actually, good that she mentioned this question, because this is something which I have been getting in my DMs a lot. People have been asking, should we wait for 3 months, because they might have actually read somewhere. So I think what happened was that, some of the vaccine manufacturers, because when they conduct the clinical trials, they of course like mention that you should wait for 3 months, and don't get pregnant, because they have to monitor those people.
Yeah.
So I think people were just getting, confused about it. So the bottom line is that they shouldn't wait. There is no reason to wait in trying to conceive, basically, after vaccination.
So basically there were not enough studies at that particular time to say that, that there's not going to be any abnormality in the baby, because that's the main concern, that if vaccine is going to cause anything or COVID infection is going to cause any congenital anomaly. But now I think they have come to this thing that yes, studies are there, but still not enough. But we have approximately 50 million people who are going to be pregnant or who are pregnant. We can't just, not give vaccine to them, because they are the ones who will be more prone to it. And now we know that there will be no congenital anomalies, nothing like that. So that's enough for us to go ahead and, get vaccinated.
So there was actually, regarding the COVID vaccine, there was also one more question which was coming up again and again, which was sometimes, women are saying that, their husbands have taken the vaccine. And I think somehow they have been like, they are afraid, like if their husbands have taken the vaccine, should they actually try to conceive or should they wait? Is there anything?
Absolutely, they can. Please don't worry about that. Please take your vaccine on one side and please go ahead and plan your pregnancies. There is no need to mix and match both of this.
Okay.
I think vaccination is more important, because if they get COVID infection, then the disasters are more severe. Then because there are a lot of reports which are saying that after COVID infection, some people were getting infertility treatment done, and after the COVID infection, when the semen was collected before and after the infection, so there was a lot of difference in the semen which was collected after the infection. So COVID infection per se can cause a lot of damage rather than the vaccine. So I think everybody should just go ahead and take the vaccine.
So this person just wants to confirm. So after getting my first dose, I can try for pregnancy. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I think when we were talking about the irregular period, so if you can suggest, some ways through which like people could actually regulate their cycle, or, they could prevent those irregularities.
So the basic measure, diet and exercise and proper sleep. These are the simple things. So having a balanced meal and exercising regularly so that your weight is maintained, and like de-stressing. Obviously we can't say no one is without stress, right? Because the lifestyle we have, and everyone is working right now, and they need to balance their work and home also. So definitely they tend to have stress, but give some time for yourselves, practice some yoga or do exercise regularly, so that this can de-stress you and help in maintaining a regular cycle. Apart from this, so if you maintain a healthy lifestyle, so you will not have any of these hormonal problems also, like thyroid or this PCOS, what are the diabetes, which are the common endocrinal disorders which can cause irregular menstruations. So apart from this, then depending upon the cause, we need to treat them. That's how
Okay.
it.
So I guess if you can talk a little bit also about the contraception, different types of contraception methods and how they affect the cycle, how they could affect the cycle at all.
Yeah. So there are different method of contraception which act in a different way. First, let us talk about the barrier contraceptive methods, which are like condoms. They are male condoms and female condoms. How they actually act is they don't allow the sperm and egg to mate. These are called barrier contraception. But the thing here is they can be, the slippage rate may be high with condoms, and maybe every time it may be not possible to wear a condom depending upon the situation. It may be not available. The proper technique of wearing the condom should also be mastered, and the way of removal, like during a withdrawal. So these are the common mishaps which come with the barrier method of contraception. So, and now coming to the next method, there are hormonal methods. So we can give them oral contraceptive pills, we can give them Mirena or hormonal contraception, and there is also something called an Implanon. This is a small rod. So coming to oral contraceptive pills, they are both estrogen and progesterone containing contraceptions, and only progesterone containing contraceptive pills. They basically act by preventing the release of egg from the ovary, so that the chance of pregnancy is not there, as that is prevented. And now coming to this intrauterine devices like copper T. Sorry, I was talking about Mirena previously. Copper T, it acts as a foreign body inside the uterus and doesn't allow the implantation of the pregnancy inside the uterus. That's how a copper T acts. Now coming to Implanon, it's a progesterone containing device. So once placed inside, or copper T also once placed inside, copper T can act, some are there which act for 3 years, some are there for 5 years. Once placed inside, they act as barriers and doesn't allow pregnancy to implant. And whenever you want to plan pregnancy, you can get them removed and then plan your pregnancy. And this implant is a small rod which is placed in your hand. This is also a progesterone containing contraception. So once placed, it acts for 3 years. It also thickens the cervical mucus and doesn't allow the sperm to pass through. So these are all temporary methods of contraception. Now coming to permanent methods, where you think that your family is completed, then you can go for permanent methods like vasectomy in males, where the vas deferens is cut, and in females it's tubectomy, where some part of the tube is cut and it doesn't allow the passage of allow the sperm and egg to mate. So the connection is cut. So this is briefly the different methods of contraception that are available, and depending upon what is suitable for you. So if any an young lady recently married or young adult who doesn't want to plan it any pregnancy, then we give them OC pills, because they are not pretty sure on having something inside their body and all. But the thing here is, these contraceptive pills, they need to be taken on time. If you don't take them on time, or if you and you need to take them every day for continuously for 21 days. So if you are not going to take this, make it a habit and take it on time, the failure rates are high. So the protection is not there in that cycle. So again, you need to have different method of contraception here. So that's what. And so anyone who is married and want to space their pregnancy after the first one, so a copper T or Implanon would be a right option for them. And if any person who is having heavy bleeding associated, and again they want contraception also, that's when where we advise Mirena. So this is a hormonal contraceptive method. It also controls the heavy bleeding during the cycle and also acts as a contraception.
Okay. Yeah, so actually a follow-up question for that regarding the contraception. So what is the best contraception method that you can use during breastfeeding? Like if you're breastfeeding, is there a specific one?
Progesterone, yeah. So there's progesterone only pill, because we can't give estrogen and progesterone together, because estrogen decreases the amount of milk production. So that's why we give only progesterone only pills during the time of lactation. And the thing with progesterone only pill is that they have to be taken on time and they have to be taken continuously.
Okay.
Like how we do it with other normal oral contraceptive pills or birth control is that you have to take it for 21 days and
Yeah.
then give a gap of 1 week and then
Yeah.
start the next packet. But in progesterone only pills, they have to be taken continuously. So if you're giving it for 5 months or 6 months, they have to take it 6 months continuously on time. Suppose if they're taking at 10 o'clock night, it has to be taken 10 o'clock every day,
Okay.
not even a
Okay.
half an hour delay, because then that
Oh,
decreases the efficacy of the drug.
okay. Okay. So there's one question, which is you cleared my tips. So yeah, she's thanking you, and she is saying that any tips for trying to get pregnant after miscarriage? I got miscarriage in February. Currently having my periods.
Okay, so
So
it is important, first of all, to know that what was the reason for the miscarriage. We will evaluate that in between, from between this miscarriage and the next pregnancy, and to take folic acid continuously. Even if she's giving a gap of 3 months or 4 months, she needs to take folic acid continuously. And depending upon the cause, then the next pregnancy can be planned.
yeah,
Okay.
if it's miscarriage, it will be mostly due to chromosomal abnormalities. So please don't worry that you may not have a second pregnancy. So please don't worry about that. It is mainly because if it's in the first trimester, because the baby has not properly formed, and it's nature's way of aborting this pregnancy. So don't think it's going to happen again. But these days, if a patient is having abortion continuously for three abortions, then only we tend to evaluate. Or two
Yeah.
abortions and the age is high, like more
Mm-hmm.
than 35, then we evaluate. Or else with only one abortion, please don't worry, but please take your folic acid levels and start doing regular exercise and do some
Yeah.
yoga meditation so that you
Healthy
can,
lifestyle, yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
all this can help you in having a normal pregnancy next time.
Okay. Yeah, she said the miscarriage was in 7 weeks.
So
Yeah.
mostly
Yeah.
because of, yeah, chromosomal abnormality, yeah.
Mm-hmm. There is actually one question. Let me see. Can contraception stop STD?
So
Bye.
if it is a, yeah, barrier method of contraception can stop STDs.
Yeah,
Okay.
and all the adolescents who are using other forms of contraception like OC pills or Implanon, so please use condoms because
With
sexually
that.
transmitted diseases can pass through. If your contraception is different, and preventing from STDs is very important because they can lead to many other problems later in life. They can cause infertility. They can cause adhesions inside the uterus if there is any lot of infections. Again, what we call as Asherman syndrome after pelvic inflammatory disease. All this can happen. So contraception barrier methods can help you prevent both from pregnancy and STDs.
Okay, yes.
But if you're using any other OC pills and if you feel you will have multiple sexual partners, please resort to definitely use a condom also to protect yourself from STDs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I guess when we are talking about contraception, so one of the methods, one of the ways for PCOS, basically, the contraception, the birth control
Birth
pill is
control.
given to regulate the periods. So in that case, depending, of course, like it depends on the severity of the PCOS and everything. But how long do you think people could actually take the contraception pill while they are on PCOS? Is there like evaluations in between, or does it like impact you in a negative sense if you're taking it for a long time?
No, no. So basically, the kind of birth control pills which are available and which we give in PCOS, they're not very high dose PCOS birth control pills. And but we then also we evaluate the patient every 6 months to know
Yeah.
that how they are doing. Because it's not only about the birth control, it is about the lifestyle modification also.
Yes.
Birth control is just gonna, act as a bridge to take them from one cycle to another for the periods. They are not
Mhm.
going to do more than that. The more important thing is lifestyle. So just to keep them under check and to know whether they are actually doing something to themselves or not. So we call them every 6 months to evaluate the hormones, that how they are doing and how the hormones are under control or not. But they can take continuously for 2 years. That's the
Okay.
maximum, and then give a gap of another 6 months and then start. But mostly
Yeah.
we, prefer to counsel the patient in a way that they should be off the pills as soon as possible. Suppose
Okay.
they should be off the pills for 6 months, they should take the pills. Within that period of time,
Yeah.
their hormones should come back to normal. Their weight should decrease by at least 10% so that the cycles become regular on their own.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And we also emphasize as lifestyle as a major treatment for
Yes.
PCOS. Just don't
Mm-hmm.
directly resort on pills. We just tell them, if we feel that they're overweight PCOS and their obesity, we just tell them that just take this as a thing and reduce your weight. Then
Yeah.
they can wonderfully see that, if see, as she said, if they lose 10% of their body weight, their periods tend to become regular automatically. So that's the best way. And the maintenance is, the consistency is important. And once the patient tends to lose weight, they become more confident. They can see their periods getting regular, and they feel more healthy, and that itself motivates them. So we should tell PCOS is mainly a lifestyle disease, and we are
Yes.
more changing their diet and exercise patterns than going on to.
Absolutely.
So there's one question, what should we not do in periods?
So the basically maybe they want to ask about the exercises, if I'm not wrong. Because the most common myth is that you shouldn't exercise during your periods. That's the biggest myth. But I would say that what you shouldn't do during your periods is, if you are a yoga practitioner, then don't do the inverted poses during the time of periods. Otherwise, everything else you can do during your periods. There is nothing which you cannot do in your periods.
Okay. Yeah, though that was actually I was keeping it for the last, but the questions regarding the myths and everything, there are so many myths around the period, so we can just talk about them now. Like, what are your top most myths about periods that you want to bust?
There are so many, actually, so many. No exercise during periods, and some people say don't take head bath in the periods. Don't enter kitchen.
Don't
Don't
take
give water to Tulsi.
Yeah, yeah. And like, I mean, of course, there regarding some of the myths kind of might actually impact the hygiene as well.
Absolutely, don't take baths. That's the biggest.
Yeah. So in terms of like, hygiene or having that sanitation and everything, so what is your recommendation regarding,
So,
yeah.
about the sanitation, I would say that if you're using pads, please change your pads every 4 to 6 hours, whether they are soaked or not soaked. Even if there's a drop of blood on your pad, change it after 6 hours. If you're using tampons, change it every 2 hours. If you're using menstrual cup, then you need to wash it every 12 hours, no matter what. Then you need to take bath at least twice a day. That's very, very important. Morning and night, it's important. Then they need to clean their genitals properly and not use any feminine hygiene wash, or any douching or clean the vagina from inside. Just clean your parts, that is the vulva, from outside with plain soap and water. That's the most important thing. The cleaning has to be done from front to back and never from back to front. That is also important. And wear a breathable cotton underwear. Most important thing. And when also about the period sex, some people ask that, whether we can do intercourse during the period time. You can definitely go ahead with it, and but always use a condom
Yeah.
if you're going for a period sex, because that's going to prevent from all sorts of infections and will also maintain the hygiene. So I think these are the few hygiene practices that everyone should follow. An important thing is that if you're using plastic pads, please try to switch over to something which is organic, because that will reduce the rashes and many other problems.
So in terms of like period products, you mentioned a lot of them. So according to you, is there any benefit of using one over the other? A lot of people are into menstrual cups now. So, could you elaborate a little bit on that?
It mainly depends on the convenience, but when it's environmental friendly, then definitely a menstrual cup would be a better option. And also organic pads are the thing we resort for these days. Or else it depends upon their convenience, whatever they want to use, sanitary pads or menstrual cups or tampons.
But yeah, we definitely advise for menstrual cups or organic sanitary pads, because tampons are not very hygienic, and they increase the incidence of infection also. So if you're comfortable with menstrual cup, then that's the best. But if you can't, and because for some people it's really, really a task, and it's a nightmare to insert a menstrual cup. Though it takes, you should try for at least 2 to 3 cycles, insert the menstrual cup. But if they're not okay with menstrual cup even after 2 to 3 cycles, then it is advisable to go for organic cotton-based pads. They are also very good, and they're comfortable also, and they decrease the incidence of rashes, infections, and everything. So if you're comfortable, then definitely menstrual cup, but can use organic pads also.
Okay. So you mentioned about, having intercourse during periods, which is okay. Sometimes people also ask about masturbating during periods. So is that like that's probably a myth as well? So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that's a,
there's nothing to do of there's no relation between masturbation and periods actually. Actually, there's this thing also that having an intercourse or during the periods and doing masturbation during the periods actually reduces the periods cramp because there is release of lots of prostaglandins and it helps in reducing the period pain. So it's actually considered to be good.
oh, okay. That's good to know. Yeah, so there's one question which is I have a doubt. My periods are regular, 32 days, but last month it came 41 days. Is it okay?
Yes, absolutely. Just delay in periods of 5 to 6 days, and for the first time, just don't get worried. But if you're not exercising, please start exercising and maintain a healthy diet, and just monitor and follow up how your periods are going. If any range between like more than 35 days and constantly occurring like more than 3 months, then you just go meet your doctor and get evaluated.
Okay. There's one more question in the question box. Let me check. Do home remedies really regulate hormones?
Home remedies is lifestyle only, actually. That you have to take care of your lifestyle, eat proper food, homemade food, not eating outside food, eat at proper time. Like, for all my PCOD patients, I tell that follow a sunrise sunset routine, that your first meal should be after sunrise and last meal should be before sunset. That's how
Okay.
you should follow and have a good sleep, 8 hours sleep to maintain a good circadian rhythm because that's also important and it's part because if the circadian rhythm is altered, then the prolactin levels will go haywire and then the irregularity in the periods come again. So all
Yeah.
these things are very important. Having a good sleep, eating good food, exercising every day, at least for half an hour and 5 times a week. That's the minimum that you should do. And the
Hmm.
next important thing is meditation for stress or anything which de-stress you, whether it's a dance or,
Yeah.
dancing on your favorite song or whatever, or a walk or just getting out of a house for a drive, whatever de-stresses you, that's important.
Yeah. Okay. So there's one more question. I did not get my periods after 2.5 years since my delivery. Is it okay?
No, no.
It also bleeding still, but she should get her periods. If it's too, she can just get a evaluation done through
Okay.
doctor.
And it's important to get withdrawal bleeding after, approximately, I would say, okay, for 6 months, if you haven't gotten your periods, you should go to a gynecologist and take a withdrawal bleeding because otherwise the lining of the uterus keeps on developing inside, it keeps on growing, and then suddenly they'll have heavy bleeding. So it's
Hmm.
important that after 6 months or 1 year, if you are regularly breastfeeding, even if you're not pregnant and everything is fine, just go and take a withdrawal bleeding from your gynecologist so that you start getting your periods regularly.
Okay. And then can you recommend any period tracker app?
There are actually so many now. Flow Tracker is there, and then Natural Cycle app is also there. So there are so many. Flow Tracker, I
Okay.
think everyone follows.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I guess my other question was about PMS. So somebody had asked a question like, is PMS real? And
Yes,
Absolutely, absolutely.
and like
PMS is absolutely real, and everyone should understand that the feelings what every woman go through during that time because there is so much fluctuation of hormones which is happening around, and because of that, the serotonin levels decreases, and because of that, it's not about just irritation or anxiety or depression. It's about so many things. There is
yeah.
bloating, there is pain, there is mood changes. So basically, there can be 150 different kind of symptoms that a woman can experience during their lifetime in this
Yeah.
PMS time.
Hmm.
So there are so many. There can be diarrhea, there can be constipation. I mean, you name it and you'll have it.
Okay.
And it's happening because of the hormonal changes which are happening
Yeah.
just because before the period. So it's absolutely real. Please don't take it lightly and try to understand that it is real and women is actually going through it. Instead of
Mhm.
criticizing her, support her in, whatever ways possible.
So sometimes actually I remember some person actually contacted me and said like their PMS symptoms were really bad. like extremely bad. So they were kind of very curious to know what they can do in order to, relieve
It's
themselves.
important, yeah, because in that scenario, then she'll not come under the category of PMS. She'll come into the category of premenstrual dysphoric disorder, where you
Okay.
actually need to consult a gynecologist. They'll evaluate you and start you on birth control pills because there are certain kind of birth control pills which, if given regularly, so what they are doing is they're trying to control that fluctuation of hormones. So basically, it's a multidisciplinary approach. The gynecologist will start you on the hormonal pills to control your hormones. There has to be a psychotherapist involved for the various sessions that they need to go through because that is also important. Counseling sessions are very, very
Hmm.
important. And then along with that, dietary modification, that is also important because there are certain foods which you can include in diet, which are rich in vitamin B6, which actually improve the hormones and, control a lot of symptoms. So it's a multidisciplinary approach and everybody needs to act together as a team
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
and then only get the things under control.
Hmm. So somebody has asked question, is it is said 2 months to 2 years is fine to wait for periods for breastfeeding mom. Is that not correct?
Yes, yes, you can absolutely wait. If you're exclusively breastfeeding, you can wait. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And yes, we will save this live, which was next thing which came up. I'm just actually seeing what I have missed in terms of questions. Yeah, so one question was like about menopause. Menopause, like how are your periods affected when you are kind of approaching menopause and so on? The kind of changes you can expect.
See, there can be delay in periods with associated with again heavy bleeding, and then the periods tend to stop. But
Mm-hmm.
you need to get evaluated to see like what is going on. Like, is it just a perimenopausal abnormal uterine bleeding, or are we missing out on anything? So if you have any irregularity of your period during the menopausal age group, so meet your doctor. So they can just do a local examination to see if the cervix is doing all fine. We'll also just do a scan and see if the endometrial thickness is good, the ovaries all fine, or any other tumors we are missing on. If everything is fine, then we can just give medication to regularize her period so it won't affect her quality of life. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the follow-up question which came up was, what age is menopause considered normal?
So
So in
45 to
India, it's, yeah, 45 to 50, and now it has been increasing to 53 also. We have seen people going till 53, 55 years of age also.
Okay. Is there a possibility of early menopause?
Yes, so many cases are coming up with early premature menopause.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, sorry.
sometimes it can run in families. Some women like in a family tend to have early menopause. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it is.
So
And it
I
can be because of, I think, lifestyle also, which these days
yeah.
people follow, like smoking, alcohol, and all those things. They can affect the egg count in the ovaries and definitely can cause early menopause. And because of the environmental toxins which we, go through every day. So that can be also one of the reasons. And if someone is going for chemotherapy or radiotherapy for a cancer procedure,
Yeah.
then in those scenarios also they can go in for early menopause. Or if they have undergone multiple cycles of infertility or IVF, or they have taken injections, hormonal injections, then that in that case scenario also they can attain an early premature menopause.
Mm-hmm. So I think there are no other. Okay, there are not really any other questions, but there's one question which I wanted to ask about PCOS and the contraception pills, which the birth control pills. So you said like you could take it like for 2 years, let's say. So do you think there are any side effects when you get off those birth control pills, in terms of like mood swings or in terms of like how it affects you in general?
In some cases it can happen because if you are on contraceptive pills for a long time, like for 2 years, and suddenly when you stop them, so in that scenario they can have withdrawal and they can have like sudden increase and fluctuation of the estrogen and progesterone, and definitely they can have a lot of PMS and mood fluctuations and mood changes. So it's very normal, but all these changes they settle down in three months or so.
Okay. Hmm. So yeah, one question which came up was, what is the correct age to conceive?
There's no correct age. There's no such magic number where where we can say that this is the correct age because it depends entirely from person to person.
Yeah.
For someone it's 28, 29 is ideal. So it depends entirely upon your reproductive health. that how you're doing. If your hormones are under control, if you do not have any associated condition, then you might delay your pregnancy till 35 also. But if you have some reproductive health issues like PCOS, thyroid disorders, or endometriosis or adenomyosis and all these things, in that scenario, you need to plan your pregnancy early. So whatever is your plan, talk to a gynecologist, get yourself evaluated so that you know that how much time you have. And it depends upon your ovarian reserve also, that how many eggs you're left with. So all these things need to be evaluated around 26, 27 years of age. And then accordingly, we can decide that how much time you have, until what time you can delay the pregnancy. And then talking about pregnancies after 35 years of age, then in those scenarios, there are increased risk of chromosomal anomalies in the babies, increased risk of hypertension in pregnancy, diabetes in pregnancy. Then the risks are more than the benefits.
Yeah. So there's one question. Can you please brief about first periods, the age range currently? How can the mother identify the puberty in her child?
See, around there's 12 to 13 is the right time where they can tend to have periods, but sometimes it can come early also, where we call precocious puberty, where they tend to get their period at the age of 8 to 9 years also. So it's a very important question, like how the mother can identify. The other features of puberty also, where they tend to have develop hair in the armpits, on the mons pubis, and the development of breast will be there. All these signs, they come at a stage manner. They can identify this, and they should tell the girl also, like when they are 8 to 9 or 9 to 10, they should tell them what can happen, what is the physiology, why they have periods, and you should tell them it's completely normal, and you should tell them these are the sanitary products available in case if the girl is having a period, what she should be doing. She should not be alarmed. If she's aware that this is a normal physiological process that every girl goes through, and is educated on how to use the sanitary pad and whom to reach out when she gets her first period, that will be very reassuring for her. And it's very important for mothers to tell their child them all these things during those puberty age groups, so that they are well prepared for the first period. So they should at least know that these periods are pretty normal to happen, and they can use the sanitary pad, how to use them, and they can reach out to the teacher or who is available at the right time, so that they can speak to the mother and then comfort her to reach her home. So because it's the first time, and it should not be alarming to her.
Yeah. So I guess there was one question. Is it safe to use menstrual cup or tampons, or do they cause any allergies or side effects?
No, it's absolutely safe to use menstrual cup. For tampons, they can definitely cause some kind of vaginal infection because they absorb the complete fluid of the vagina. So they can increase the chance of infection. Otherwise, menstrual cup are completely safe and can be used by anybody.
Tampons directly used, you can prevent that. Just not at the
if they change it every 2 hours, then definitely it's okay.
Using the
Okay, so I had a C-section in January. I didn't get my periods yet. When should I make with my partner? I'm having some fear. If I can have sex, can I get more pain?
I think it's already more than 6 months. So if she wants to have an intercourse, then she should actually use a contraception and then go ahead with it. Otherwise, there's no problem. After 6 weeks, after 6 weeks of cesarean, you can resume your normal sexual activity.
So there's a question about any tips to manage periods after C-section.
It will be same like the previous ones. Like how you manage your periods before pregnancy, it will be absolutely same. Maybe initial few periods will be more heavy. You should be ready for that. Otherwise, I think everything else is the same.
Okay. So yeah, I think those, okay, there's one more, sorry. There's one more question in the question box. Let me see. Regulate. Is white vaginal discharge before periods normal?
See, every woman tends to have vaginal discharge. It depends upon the hormones playing in your body. The discharge consistency and amount varies depending on whether there is a estrogen or progesterone in your body. So vaginal discharge is common, but what you should be worried is if there's an excessive amount of white discharge, that you need to use a panty liner. Okay, and if the discharge is associated with any foul smell, or if it's associated with itching, or change in the color of discharge, like it may be greenish or yellowish in color. These are the things you should be worried about, and then you should meet your doctor. Otherwise, vaginal discharge is completely normal. So if any of these abnormalities are there, then only just reach out to your doctor and get them treated.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, this brings me to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Quick Mommy Hacks, and follow me on Instagram for some personal tips on pregnancy, childbirth, and motherhood.